the United States Justice Department was a law firm, it would have been the largest law firm in the world. The Justice Department, the US Justice Department, has the resources, both intellectual resources and unlimited time and investigative power to go after anyone. They can go after companies, and they certainly can go after American citizens who they claim violate the law. With such power, you would think that the Justice Department would be very judicious in the way that they bring cases, prosecute them, and eventually get a conviction. That has not always been the case. Prosecutors from the Justice Department often bring cases against people for different reasons. Sometimes it's a political consideration, sometimes it's retaliation, and sometimes it's just a prosecutor who's looking to make a name for himself. So they go after someone who is very famous, guilty or innocent. It is not the case that they considered. Now, the Justice Department has a policy, and the policy is very clear. You do not bring a case unless you can convict. You have to consider how important the case is to the public and why are you bringing the case. But often we see that the Justice Department, the FBI, sometimes started their own investigation or trying to actually create their own crime. Today, I'm going to talk about a case that I think fits that profile. It is the case of the United States versus Joseph Baptiste, versus Dr. Joseph Baptiste. First, let's talk about who is Dr. Joseph Baptiste. Dr. Joseph Baptiste is a Haitian American, very prominent in the Haitian community. For years, he has worked with both nonprofit, but he's also retired from the military as a captain or colonel. Of course, Mr. Baptiste and his family reside in Maryland, and for many years, Dr. Baptiste has made his name as the ultimate political connector. He's very well known, in the chambers of Congress. In fact, so well known that many Haitian politicians in Haiti and also other businessmen have made it their business to make sure that they get connected to lawmakers in the United States through Dr. Baptiste. So Dr. Baptiste is someone who's very well known in the Haitian community. A lot of people know who he is. He's done a lot of good work. But as I often say, when you are in the public eyes, you are going to create enemies. And this comes with the territory. You can't be in the public eyes and think everybody's going to love you. That's not going to happen. Some people going to love you, some are not going to love you. Just the way the game is played. Now, what happened to Dr. Baptiste is regrettable indeed. And unfortunately, Dr. Baptiste doesn't have any recourse. So first of all, let's go over what happened to him. Dr. Baptiste, as I said, is very connected both in Washington and in Haiti. So he's done a lot of work. I think he was the first person to launch the Organization for the Advancement of Haitian American, done a very good work over the years. However, in 2017, Dr. Baptiste was arrested at his house in Maryland by the FBI and charged with violation of the Foreign Co-op Practices Act. And I'm going to tell you what the Foreign Co-op Practices Act is all about. Certainly, he was charged with a series of crimes. He was then indicted. He appeared in court. He pled not guilty. He got a bail for $250,000 and was released to his own recognizance. Now, of course, as I explained before, how the prosecutors work, that is an indictment. So the indictment came through and they accused him of a series of crimes. okay? Now, before I give you the definition of what exactly does the Foreign Co-op Practice Act forbids, let me explain to you the fact of Dr. Baptiste's case. Apparently, Dr. Baptiste had several meetings with a gentleman. Actually, he was an FBI agent who posed as a businessman who wanted to do business in Haiti. And of course, it is not abnormal if somebody wanted to do business in Haiti to speak to a Haitian American and the caliber of Dr. Baptiste, because not only he knows a lot of people in Haiti, but he also knows a lot of people in the United States. So Dr. Baptiste did not know that the man that he was actually talking to was an undercover FBI agent, okay? According to the government, and this is what the government said, I'm not saying it's true. Apparently, it is not true what they said. Obviously, they lied. But this is what the government said. The government said Dr. Baptiste told them that he can pay Haitian government officials in order to get certain projects. In fact, there was a project in Cape Haitian, and Dr. Baptiste allegedly told this FBI agent, whom he didn't know if he was an FBI agent, that he could actually do that. And then in order to do that, the would-be investor would have to give money to certain senators and certain government officials in order to get the project through. That is basically the basic allegation, okay, against him. Now, mind you, Dr. Baptiste hasn't given any money to anyone, okay? This is just a conversation between him and someone that he thought was an investor who actually wasn't an investor, was an undercover FBI agent. So that's what I said, don't do this with people you don't know, talk to people you don't know. But in any event, here's what the government said. The government said that the Foreign Co-op Practices Act forbids a US citizen or an alien, a resident alien, from paying bribes to foreign government officials in order to get favored treatment. So in other words, basically what it says is, if you're a US citizen, if you are a resident alien, you can't go around the world paying government, paying officials to do what they are elected to do. So we know certainly in Haiti, that's how business is done. You have to somewhat, do certain things. But in any event, not that Dr. Baptiste has done that. Okay? So apparently, Dr. Baptiste had a conversation with this person and explained how business is done. There was some money that exchanged hands between the investor and Dr. Baptiste, and I believe based on the indictment to the tune of $25,000, it wasn't a lot of money. So the government turned around and said that there was a conspiracy between Dr. Baptiste and his co-defendant, there was another gentleman involved, to violate the Foreign Co-op Practices Act. So the government went ahead and charged Dr. Baptiste with 3 different counts. One of them was bribery, conspiracy to violate the acts, and so on and so forth. So of course, Dr. Baptiste knew he was innocent. He didn't do anything. So the case went to trial in 2019. And believe it or not, and don't be shocked with what I'm about to tell you, Dr. Baptiste was actually convicted of all 3 counts. Okay, he was found guilty of all 3 counts. But his lawyers knew better. They knew that there was no way the government could prove that there was a conspiracy or there was even a bribery, because there was no bribery. He didn't give any money to anyone. So after he was convicted, his lawyer then filed a motion for a new trial and for acquittal. So the judge in the case denied the motion for acquittal and basically ordered a new trial. So the government said, no, we're not gonna happen, that's not gonna happen, we're going to appeal it. So the government appealed the judge's decision for a new trial for Dr. Baptiste, to the First Circuit Court of Appeal in Boston, Massachusetts. So of course, like they say, justice, the machinery of the justice system grinds very, very slowly. But eventually, sometime if you're lucky, you get somewhere. So earlier this year, the First Circuit Court of Appeal in Boston affirmed the district court's decision to grant Dr. Baptiste a new trial. And of course, there were a myriad of reasons why his lawyer argued that he needed a new trial. Now, here's what I tell people, and this is kind of an education moment for all of you who are watching this video. There is no such thing as a perfect criminal justice system. Okay? And when I hear people talk about the Russian or the Chinese and saying, well, how the criminal justice system is this and that, our criminal justice system in the United States is no better. There are a lot of people, innocent people, who are sitting in prison right now for things that they didn't do. But because the way the system is, the government often has a leg up. So you ask the question, how could a guy like Dr. Baptiste be convicted for something that he didn't do? So you can ask that for thousands of other Americans who are in prison, innocent people who are sitting in prison for whatever reason. So when the Court of Appeal released its decision affirming the judge's decision to grant Dr. Baptiste a new trial, what did you think the government do? The government turned around and says, well, come to think of it, we lost the evidence. What? The government lost the evidence. The question that I ask is, was there any evidence to begin with? The government claimed they lost the evidence, okay? So, but they did one thing that was good. They decided to dismiss the superseding indictment. What is a superseding indictment? You ask, there is a definition right here. You can read the definition for yourself. But in any event, they dismissed the charges against Dr. Baptiste. Now, guys, this case started back in 2017. This is 2022. And Dr. Baptiste, certainly an upstanding citizen in our community, a man that many people have a lot of respect for, done a lot of good work. His reputation has been soiled by the government. His reputation has been destroyed. In addition to the thousands of dollars that he had to pay two separate group of lawyers, his lawyers for the trial and his appellate lawyers to defend him. At the end of 5 years, the government had nothing to show. So the question you have to ask yourself is, why did the government bring that case to begin with? Why would the State Department, I'm sorry, not the State Department, why would the Justice Department, okay, spend all his resources in prosecuting an innocent man? Why? I don't know the answer, but I can hypothesize. I can give you my opinion. Dr. Baptiste apparently is very well known in Washington, D.C., very well known in the walls of power. And sometimes when you're so well known, some people may not like it. They try to get you out of the way for whatever reason. And I think that Dr. Baptiste needs to review and look at who his enemies are, because somebody with enough power obviously wanted to get him out of the way. And there's no better way to get you out of the way than to call you a criminal, to say that you violated the law, to send you to prison. But thanks God that Dr. Baptiste never had to go to prison. After the trial was over, he was convicted. His lawyer filed a motion. The judge did not sentence him to prison. They actually allowed him to stay out until his case was over. So in 2022, Dr. Baptiste was cleared of any wrongdoing. I don't know Dr. Baptiste. I might have met him once or twice in public event. He's not a friend of mine, but I thought that this case was really an example of an abuse of power, a travesty of justice. because the United States of America is one of the most powerful countries in the world. The Justice Department, the United States Justice Department has several investigative agencies that works for them. The FBI, they work with the Secret Service, okay? They work with other investigative agencies. So they have all the resources in the world to go after anybody that they want. And they have a lot of cases, I mean, terrorism, drugs, murder, rape, sex. I mean, they have so many cases that they can go after. Why did they choose to waste their resources and a man who was in the military, who actually hadn't done anything wrong except to try to help his country of birth, which is Haiti, except to try to help his country develop? So they went after him. But I'm glad to say that Dr. Baptiste, after a long fight, eventually prevailed. Congratulations. I don't know if I should say congratulations to him, or should I even say to the men that I'm sorry, because I think that every time you see an injustice, you have to speak about it. The case of the United States versus Dr. Baptiste was an injustice to a very prominent man who works very hard and who try to help the country. So I thank you for watching this video. I hope to have Dr. Baptiste in an interview. Hopefully he can tell you a little bit about how he feels and how he's moving forward. But I have to say that Dr. Baptiste doesn't have any recourse. He can't sue the Justice Department for the money that he spent to his lawyers. He certainly can sue them for trashing his reputation. So, because when the Justice Department make an arrest of a person as prominent as Dr. Baptiste, of Dr. Baptiste, they will issue press releases to all the news media in the country. The New York Times, everybody get a copy of a press release to announce that they have arrested somebody of a status, of a good stature. Now, you never heard the criminal, the drug dealers, the people they've arrested, but for someone like that, they always put out a press release. The question is why? Well, I can tell you why. Number one, when the Justice Department arrests somebody like Dr. Baptiste, the prosecutors, the line prosecutors, the assistant prosecutors, they get their name in the newspaper. The FBI agent who investigates the case, they get their name in the newspaper. And these people are just looking for recognition as much as anybody else to show that they're doing their work. And sometimes when their name get on the paper, their superior notice, the White House notice, other agencies notice. So it is not something that they do because they really want to enforce the law. A lot of the time they do it because of personal interest. So the case of United States versus Joseph Baptiste may just be one of these cases where somebody is looking for recognition. Thank you for watching this video of the professor. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, and please do share this link with your friends and your